Hi, it's Chef and Builder Janie Pendleton, and today we're going to be canning black beans, okay? So come along for the ride, and I'm going to teach you how easy this is.
First thing you want to do is you want to sort your black beans. Once you get them sorted, then you're going to take and you're going to rinse them really well. Just look for any pebbles or anything like that. Rinse them really well. Now for a softer black bean, you can take and you can soak these for maybe about 4 or 5 hours, or even overnight if you want a softer black bean. Quarts would be treated just like meat. Beans are treated just like a protein, just like meat. So it's 90 minutes for quarts at 10 pounds of pressure at 1,000 feet altitude or less. 15 pounds of pressure if you're above 1,000 feet or around, between 1,000 and 3,000. Be sure and check your ball canning guide on that. And 75 minutes at 10 pounds of pressure for pints. And here I'm just using half pints, just these jelly jars here, wide mouths, and I'm going to process these for the same amount of time I'd process pints for. I could probably knock 5 minutes off the time, but I'm not going to risk it because there was no black bean chart for how many minutes for half pints that I could find anywhere. So I'm just going to treat them like pints. Remember, you always want to over process than under process for food safety. So I'm going to take the maximum minutes for the half pints, and I'm just going to go with the pint time. I like a little firmer beans when I eat my salad, so I'm not going to worry, but I think I'm just going to dry pack these. I'm going to fill these up to the same spot. I'm going to fill them up 1/3 of the way up the jar. You could possibly, black beans don't swell as much. You could probably go closer to the halfway point, but I'm not going to risk it. I don't mind. I'd rather have the fluid than to pop that lid off, having them swell too much. And then what I'm going to do is it calls for 1/2 inch of water, which is this ring here, but I'm going to fill it just a hair bit above that, maybe closer to the 1/4 inch mark. So when the beans absorb the water and the water level drops during the canning process and during the storage process, when they swell, they'll have plenty of water in there. I like the extra water in mine, okay? It's just a science of having done it enough times to know how much to fill them up. If you were using the pints, you would fill them up about 1/3 of the way to half. And this is just for black beans. Other beans like kidney beans may be larger and may swell more, so you might want to only do 1/4 of the jar. But we're doing black beans today, so we're going to do 1/3 to 1/2 the jar in black beans. If you're doing the 1.5 pints, then you could certainly go almost halfway. If you're doing the quart jars, I would maybe go to maybe halfway up that L on the ball jar, maybe to the top of the L. That's as high as I would go on the quarts. Okay, so anyway, I hope that helped you figure out where your line mark should be for the black beans. Now we've got these rinsed. We've checked them out really well here for, any rocks or anything, any bad beans. Looks really good. See, right there's a bad bean right there. And here's another one right there. So you want to be double sure here and check them out really, really well, because you never want to can anything that's bad. That's just a split bean there. Okay, the rest of that looks really good. There's another one that I'm not going to be using. So just go through them really well. It takes a few minutes. If they don't look quite right to you, just get rid of them. There's no reason to even risk it. Over here, we just have some regular water boiling. We're going to add, by the way, 1 teaspoon, 1/2 to 1 teaspoon per quart jar. 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon per pint jar. And since I'm doing half pints and there's no information on it, I'm just going to stick with 1/4 teaspoon of salt. 1/8 to 1/4 teaspoon of salt should do it. Fill your canner up to the waterline mark here on the side that you can feel here on the side. Here it is. It's on the side that doesn't have the writing on it right there. You'll find your water mark, and then add another 1/4 inch, because these are going to process quite a long time and steam for 10 minutes plus the 75 minutes of processing time. You want to make sure there's enough water in here. Now in my canner, I did add a splash or 2 of vinegar, just because I have hard water, and I added just about a teaspoon of vinegar in with the lids as well. Get your lids on to simmer, and then get your jars into a boiling water bath and get them sterilized. Now I've already done that, and my jars are all ready to go. Now we're going to fill the jars up, and we'll be right back. Like I said, it's not quite halfway up, a little under halfway. So when those swell, they should be fine. sure I don't fill them up too full. Like I said, this is the size that works for us. Make sure we have the same amount of beans in all of them. This also gives us another chance to check the beans out. Now we're just going to check the heights of all of them. Move these forward. Check the height with the end one again. This one here's got a little bit more in it than the other. Okay, make sure you use pickling salt, and I'm just going to use, this says right here, 1/4 teaspoon. Now I did a couple of half pints, so I'm going to put in 1/2 teaspoon in those of salt. 1/4 teaspoon in my half pints. My lids are all hot and ready to go. And I'm just going to pour my water in my jars, just like that, to 1/2 to 1/4 inch head space. It's nice having a pour spout on here. Wipe the rims of your jars with a clean napkin. I just dip mine here in my sterilized water that I have my rings and lids soaking in, not the water I'm pouring in the jars. I'm going to go ahead and just debubble these real quick. I'm just going to use the end of this one. With a clean napkin, I'm just going to dip in here like this. And I'm just going to clean all my rims. Check the height of water in my jars. Make sure I got it right where I want it. See, the beans are already absorbing some of that water. I might have to go through here and add a little bit. A big ladle really does help. You know, canning beans is probably about the easiest thing you can do. It really is. Add some water. Now I'm just going to take my finger, dip it here into the hot water here, and I'm just going to run it over the ring just like that. Make sure that I don't have any salt, cracks, or breaks. Okay, we're just checking each jar. Dipping it, just by dipping my clean finger. I made sure my finger is very clean. I've been canning all day. Trust me, my hands are clean. Okay, no salt or any cracks or breaks. That's perfect. We've debubbled, got the hot water in there. Now we're just going to take our it's finger tight, just like that right there. I'll show that to you one more time. Finger tight. Finger tight, and so on. Remember, with beans, it's better to have less beans and more water than it is to have too many beans and not enough water, because they'll swell up and they can pop this lid and keep it from sealing. This lid must drop in order for it to seal. You never want your produce to touch the lid. And this is it. This is all there is to canning beans. And we're going to process these for, like I said, we're going to process these for the pints amount for 75 minutes. I mean, if quarts are 90 minutes and pints are, oops, there's two, see? Be careful, see, I got two lids in there. That's why you never want to pick them up like this. This is why you never want to pick up a set of lids out of your water like this, because inside could be two lids. I almost did that a second ago. Just take your time, do it right. If you can, try to keep the jars from touching. And again, just a couple of dollops of vinegar really goes a long way. Looks like I could get some more jars in here. I never want to run an empty canner. And since I have pints in here too, I'll just go ahead and run it for the pint amount. I'm not even going to adjust the time. In fact, I'll put this along the edge here. And it looks like I can get 2 more jars in here. Good, I got the beans. Okay, now this right here is why you want to inspect your jars. I don't know if you can see it or not, but from here to here, there is a crack that runs through my jar. Let's see if I can hold it up here where you can see it better. Do you see that crack that runs across the top of the B letter there and through the L? That's the first time in years I've gotten a cracked jar. But that's why you want to inspect your jars really well. That was a brand new jar. It probably got hit at the factory or something. Okay, now we have a full canner. We have pints and half pints. Since I was processing them at the same time, that's fine. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to blow through the center hole right here. Make sure that's clear. So line the arrows up. Give it a turn. Make sure the canner back here is not touching your knobs. You don't want to melt your stove knobs. Now, when we get good hard steam rolling out of this, we're going to put the timer on here for 10 minutes. And we're going to let that steam for 10 minutes. And this little lock right here should pop up during that 10 minutes. Most likely it will. If you got a good hard steam going, it'll pop up early in that 10 minutes. Let it steam for 10 minutes. We're going to put on the 10-pound rocker. I'm at 1,000 feet or below altitude. It's 15 pounds if you're probably above that. Check your ball book for that. But I'm, you know, Flatland, Indiana. We're below 1,000. I think we're at 630 feet above sea level. So that's our altitude. So we use a 10-pound rocker. Now when this gets to rocking, then we're going to time this for 75 minutes for pints. Okay, that's an hour and 15 minutes, and it's an hour and a half or 90 minutes for quarts. And we're doing the half pint the same as the pints, like I said before. Now we'll be right back when this gets to rocking. Okay, you can really feel that steam, really hot. Wow. So we've vented for 10 minutes. Now we're just going to take and put on our rocker. And you can see here that our little cap is up. I'll show this to you a little closer here. See, our little lock is up. This little black one back here, by the way, that's just an emergency blowout. That will go before, you know, the whole canner blows up. That would just pop out. And you can see there's pressure on that. See that? You can hear the pressure on that as well. That's good. That means that's up and that's working. But if we're getting too much pressure, that would blow out. You just can't get too many things going at once. And, you know, just be sure and keep your children and your pets out of the room when you're canning. You really do need to be able to concentrate on what you're doing without tripping over things. This does get very hot, especially hot jams and sauces and barbecue sauces and things like that, and jellies. They're extremely hot. And as you've seen on one of my other videos, my raspberry jam video, I did have one of the bands. I picked it up by the band instead of under the ring. I thought I had a hold of it by under that bottom ring on the jar. And it popped off on me because it was under a lot of pressure, and it went everywhere. I was so glad I didn't have children in the kitchen. But that's the only time that's ever happened to me, and yep, I learned a lesson. So now we're going to wait till this rocks, and when this starts rocking, we're going to stay here and adjust our temperature until we get this right. Get a nice even rocking motion going. Okay, our rocker is nice and rocking. We're just going to adjust the temperature down so we just keep a nice steady pressure. Fly glass top's about a number 4. Again, the pin is up. It's rocking nicely, and when it's ready and it's got a nice rocking motion to it, we're going to start our time at an hour and 15 minutes. That's 75 minutes. We'll see you back here when that time is up. Okay, we just turned off our heat, and now we're going to slide our canner, be careful on your glass top, off the heat source, and we're going to bring this down until you don't want to touch the rocker. Let it come down naturally. You don't want to pour water on this. You don't want to cool this down too quick. Let it come down naturally. And when this pin drops in about 35 to 45 minutes, then you'll be able to open the canner. And we'll see you back here then. Remember, don't remove the rocker. You'll get a steam burn. We've let this cool. Our little lock has dropped. There's no steam. Everything is fine. We'll go ahead and open this up. Now when you open this up, open this lid away from you just like this. See that steam coming out right there? You don't want to give yourself a good facial with that. I'm just gonna take the lid off just like that. Looks like the beans didn't rise too much. And I'm just gonna let them sit here in the canner and let them kind of acclimate to the room temperature since the air conditioner's on. We're getting a 90-degree day today and the air conditioner kicked on. So I'm just gonna let this acclimate to the temperature in the kitchen for just about 2 or 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes at the most. And then I'm gonna take them over and put them on a towel on the counter. Remember, you never want to put the glass onto a cold counter or granite or marble or cold countertop because that can break your glass. This is extremely hot and a lot of these are getting ready to pop. I can see them. So let's let them sit here for just a minute and we'll be right back. We're going to go ahead and pull these out of here. We're going to take the pints first. Wow, look at that. They did go all the way up to the top. And they are popping in the canner. If you feel you put in too many beans, then and it doesn't pop down, it's too full, then go ahead and refrigerate them and put them in the refrigerator. They're up there, but that one already popped. So I mean, it's sealed, so it's doing fine. So that one just popped. I think I just got one that I might have put way just a little bit too many beans in the one. That one that I put in at the last minute. Okay, give it a tilt. Oh yeah, these are fine. That one right there is getting ready to pop. Just sit it right there. And here I made cherry pie filling, dill pickles, green beans, cherry jam, blackberry jam, and I even figured out how to reuse the store bottles for that. I love those jars. I wanted to be sure and reuse them, so I recanned the store-bought jars. Blackberry jam, more dill pickles, sweet pickles. Yeah, here's another view. You can see I've been busy the last 3 days. Very busy. Okay, here's one that's already popped. Okay, and here's what it looks like on the back side of the light there. You see that? Looks good. Give them some space. We're just going to finish emptying the canner and we'll be right back. So I guess on the pints, I mean, on the first two I added enough, but the one that I added to the canner and I didn't have the others to look off of, and I just added it quickly to the canner so I'd have a full canner. Oh, there they go. It's under a lot of pressure here, so you can see how you have to be just right with the beans. These sealed. On this one right here, I don't know. I think the beans might have pushed up a little bit on it. But all of my half pints sealed. This one right here is yet to seal. It looks like it's getting ready to. And they all look really good. Here, I'll pull this up. They're hot. Isn't that beautiful? Oop, there's another one. Isn't that beautiful? Black beans. You can do this. It's one of the easiest ones there is. You just have to be really careful on how much beans you put in the jar. And I'd say these right here were perfect. It looks like they have water almost all the way to the top. So we won't open this up and have dry beans on the top. I'm really happy with the measurements. You can go with a little less beans if you want a little bit more water. But this worked for me. Other than the one that I put too many beans in trying to get them to fit in there into the canner. Shame on me. But that's no problem because I'll eat them. They're cooked and ready to eat, and we'll just have some taco salads or we'll throw them in some chili, and that's fine. But this is Chef and Builder Janie Pendleton on how I can my black beans. It's it's a really good first-time canners project. So you beginners out there, give this a try. Just be careful on the amount of beans that you put in. And remember your other beans like kidney beans or black-eyed beans or something. You know, they would be navy beans. They would be a little bit larger bean and would swell a little bit more. So you'd probably not get as many in the jar. So so it's just trying to be tried and true. Find what works for you. This is Chef and Builder Janie Pendleton. Be sure and subscribe. Blessings.